Hello everyone. Today we'll discuss something more about infertility. In the previous session, we talked about definition, types, and incidence of the infertility. Today we'll talk about its etiology. Now you know that for the etiology or for development of the infertility, male and female both are responsible. Sometimes only the male is responsible. At some occasions, only the female is responsible. But sometimes both male and female are responsible for infertility. So we talk about first faulty male factors when the male is at fault. There are different groups of causes which are responsible for infertility caused by the male. We start with systemic factors. When the age is above 45 years, severe diabetes mellitus, extreme obesity, fatigue, that is easy exhaustion, habit of heavy smoking, and habit of consuming alcoholism. These factors at some way affect spermatogenesis and also affect the capacity of sexual relation or capacity to perform the sex and will lead to the infertility. Next is endocrinopathy factors. You can say hormonal factors. These are hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction, hypothyroidism, and adrenal hyperplasia. Third is psychological, nervous tension about the sex. Person is not able to perform the sex or complete the sex properly, and this will lead to infertility. Psychiatric illness, when the person is suffering from any mental disorder, these also leads to infertility. Immunological factors, sperm auto-agglutinating and auto-immobilizing antibodies can develop against its own sperm in 3 to 5% men. So that comes under immunological factors where the auto-immobilizing antibodies develop in the person by himself only. Genital factors. These are very important cause of the infertility. Genital factors are of two types: defective spermatogenesis and genital duct obstruction and inflammation. Spermatogenesis is defective sperm production, or spermatogenesis is the process of sperm production. So when the sperm production is defective, it will lead to the infertility, right? So we first start with the defective spermatogenesis. At what occasions, in what conditions there will be defective spermatogenesis? First condition is undescended testes. Normally when the male child is born, the testes are undescended. They are not in the scrotum. But as the child grows, the testis descends and settles into the scrotum. But sometimes, even in the adult life of man, the testis remains undescended. So this will depress spermatogenesis and will lead to the infertility. Next condition is Klinefelter syndrome with small and firm testes. If you go through the characteristic features of this syndrome, you will find them. One of them is small and firm testes. As the person grows, normally testes becomes larger in the size. But when the testes remain small and firm, even in the adult life, this will depress or affect the spermatogenesis and will lead to infertility. Next factor is testicular atrophy following mumps and smallpox at childhood. So when the male has suffered from mumps or smallpox in the childhood, it is likely that he will develop testicular atrophy, and this will also affect the spermatogenesis. Varicocele and huge hydrocele. Varicocele is the scrotal swelling and hydrocele is accumulation of the fluid in the testes. So these two conditions also affect the spermatogenesis. Continuing the same spermatogenesis, hypospadias and epispadias. Normally, the urethral opening is at the tip of the penis. and the male has common opening for genitourinary function. So these opening is at the tip of the penis. But in these two conditions, hypospadias and epispadias, the urethral opening is somewhere else in the penis. It is not at the tip of the penis. In the previous session, we talked about factors responsible for the successful fertility. Right? One of those factors is ejaculation must occur at the external os of the cervix. So at the end of the coitus, when the ejaculation occurs, it can occur at the external os of the cervix only when urethral opening is at the tip of the penis. If it is on the side of the penis or on the under surface of the penis, which you find in the hypospadias and epispadias, then ejaculation will occur outside the vagina. So sperms cannot enter genital tract and it will lead to infertility. In the previous session, we also talked about the minor difference between the infertility and sterility. You can very well understand the difference between these two terms with these examples. In the hypospadias and the epispadias, the capacity is there. Person is able to impregnate the woman, but because of this faulty location, abnormal location of the urethral opening, person fails to impregnate. Right? So in this condition, it is not sterility, it is infertility. Person is not sterile because the sperms are healthy, sperms are motile, but because of the abnormal location of the urethral opening, ejaculation does not occur. Deposition of the semen does not occur at the external os of the cervix, and that's why it will result into infertility. Right? Next is prolonged exposure to heat. Normally, the scrotal temperature is 1 to 2 degree lower than body temperature. It is 1 to 2 degree lower than the body temperature. Whenever the person is exposed to heat, for example, working as a truck driver or bus driver, where person remains in the heat for a long time of the day or for most of the time of the day, in these two conditions, the scrotal temperature rises by 1 to 2 degrees centigrade than the body temperature, and these will affect spermatogenesis. So prolonged exposure to heat also leads to infertility. Then tight undergarments. Use of tight undergarments, well fitted undergarment. These also depresses the spermatogenesis and leads to infertility. Second genital factor is genital duct obstruction and inflammation. That is urethritis and epididymitis. Both are inflammatory condition where the causative organism may be mainly gonococcal but rarely tubercular. Right? Another factor is coital factor. Ignorance about the act of coitus. Person does not know how to perform the coitus, how to perform the sex, and these you find in 5% cases which lead to infertility. These we discuss the causes in the male. Now we come to the female causes. Faulty female factors. Again, distribution is there. We start with the systemic factors. Any systemic disease which is strong enough to suppress ovulation will be responsible for the infertility or will produce infertility. Right? So whatever diseases are mentioned here, they all are strong enough. Tuberculosis and anemia, if they are deep enough to suppress ovulation, they will lead to infertility. Pulmonary tuberculosis and severe anemia, they both are, if deep enough to suppress ovulation, they will produce infertility. Then the age above 35 years, here after these age, the cycle may become irregular and the chances of the fertility reduces. Obesity, extreme obesity. Second is endocrinopathy factors, hormonal factors, thyroid disturbances, hypogonadotrophic amenorrhea, metropathia hemorrhagica and PCOD. polycystic ovarian disease. All these conditions suppresses ovulation. They suppress ovulation and lead to infertility. Next is psychological factor. Fear, that is apprehension about the coitus. Nervous tension, whether she will be able to satisfy the husband or not. Nervous tension about the sex. Marital disharmony. Husband and wife relations are not healthy. There is some dispute between two of them. So, all these will lead to tubal spasm. Spasm of the fallopian tube. This may lead to vaginismus when the coitus becomes difficult. So, coital frequency will decrease due to this condition. And as the coitus is not done with the sufficient frequency, it will lead to infertility. We have discussed the factors responsible for the successful fertility. One of them is coitus must be done with the sufficient frequency. That is 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 coitus in a week. So if this frequency is not maintained, it may lead to infertility. Genital factors. You can divide these factors into different types as per the site of the female genital tract. These factors may be vaginal, cervical, uterine, tubal, ovarian and perineal. We'll discuss each factors one by one. So we start with vaginal factors. Narrow vaginal introitus, vaginismus, tight hymen, vaginitis, vaginal atresia or stenosis, where the vaginal opening gets narrow, high vaginal acidity. Normally the vaginal pH is 3.8 to 4.5, but when you find it more acidic, it will lead to infertility. Immediate escape of semen after the coitus, that is called flor seminis. The semen does not retain into female genital tract. Many a times, let me clear one thing, patient will not give you history in English. Patient will narrate the history as per what she understands. So how will she narrate about these complaints? Immediate escape of semen after the coitus. The patient usually says that સંબંધ બાંધ્યા પછી વીર્ય તરત જ બહાર નીકળી જાય છે, અંદર રહેતું નથી, and that is must. The sperms has to reach the ampulla part of fallopian tube from the external os of the cervix. So if the semen escapes, the semen is not retained, it is very important cause of the infertility, the female cause, you can say. So this condition is called flor seminis, and natrum carb is a very good drug for this condition. You will find these causative factors very commonly among the patients of the infertility, and homeopathy has a very good scope in case of the infertility. If you take a case very well, if you give the medicines at the proper time, you may or you will always get the success. So be confident. It is having very good scope in homeopathy for the infertility. Mark perineal relaxation. So all these vaginal factors will somewhere affect the coitus and will lead to the infertility. Next is cervical factors. Cervix has mucus. This cervical mucus is favorable to allow the sperm transport. From the external os of the cervix, the sperm has to reach the ampulla part of fallopian tube. So sperms have to travel through the cervical canal, and cervical canal has the mucus. So these cervical mucus should be favorable to allow the or to facilitate the sperm transport, so that the sperm transport can occur easily. But in some conditions, the cervical mucus becomes unfavorable. It becomes unfavorable for sperm transport. So the sperm transport cannot occur properly. These factors are hormonal, anatomic, infective and neoplastic. As far as the hormonal factor is concerned, estrogen provides favorable atmosphere for the sperm transport. So estrogen deficiency will lead to infertility. Then anatomic cervical factor like cervical hypoplasia. Cervical growth is not proper, it is deficient, hypoplasia. Cervical elongation, cervical canal is long. So sperms will take more time to cross through the or to pass through the cervical canal, and the lifespan of the sperms are very short in the female genital tract. So sometimes it may happen that because of the elongated cervical canal, before the sperms could reach the ampulla part, they die. So this will lead to the infertility. Intracervical obstruction. So because of this obstruction also, sperms cannot pass through it. Intracervical obstruction that we just discussed. Prolapse, cervical prolapse may be responsible, and cervical scarring. So these are the anatomic cervical factors. Then infective cervical factor, chronic cervicitis. It may be pyogenic or tubercular. Cervical erosion and ectropion. Ectropion is outward turning of the cervix, that is called ectropion. Neoplastic cervical factor like mucus or fibroid polyp and cervical carcinoma. So these cervical factors will lead to the infertility. Third is uterine factors. Uterine fibromyoma of submucous or interstitial type. You must be knowing the types of the fibromyoma. Among all these types, submucous or interstitial type will lead to the infertility. Adenomyosis due to unhealthy endometrium. Continuing the same, uterine hypoplasia with acute antiflexion or retroflexion. Antiflexion means bent forward, retroflexion means bent backward. Infantile, rudimentary or absence of uterus. So these will also lead to the infertility where the uterus is not proper. Uterine malformation. This is rare. Normally uterine malformation will lead to the abortion. It will not prevent pregnancy. So in any of these conditions, woman may conceive but pregnancy cannot reach full term. It will lead to the abortion. Tubercular endometriosis. This is very important cause of infertility nowadays. Then we come to tubal factors, fallopian tube factors. There is tubal occlusion or peritubal adhesions from salpingitis. Fallopian tube may be occluded or there may be peritubal adhesions, especially from the inflammation of fallopian tube. This inflammation may be due to gonococci, due to chlamydia, it may be pyogenic or tubercular. So any organism can be responsible for this salpingitis, which leads to obstruction in the fallopian tube. Congenital tubal defects like elongation or hypoplasia. Either fallopian tube is elongated or it is not grown properly, it is not developed properly. Again, when the fallopian tube is elongated, sperms will take more time to reach ampulla part. So it may die before they reach the ampulla part. And when the fallopian tube is not properly developed, it may cause difficulty in the sperm transport. So the sperms may not reach the ampulla part. Now we come to ovarian factors. Anovulatory menstrual cycle. That is very important cause of the infertility. Where the ovulation is not there, it will lead to infertility. Luteal phase defect. These phase defect also leads to infertility. Hyperprolactinemia with luteal phase defect. Chronic oophoritis. Chocolate cyst of ovaries. Ovarian tumor. Streak gonads in Turner syndrome. So these are various ovarian factors responsible for infertility. One more is premature menopause. When menopause develops at the early age, so the ovulation also stops earlier and this will lead to infertility. And the last female factor is peritoneal factor. It is very important cause of the unexplained infertility. Sometimes, even after thorough investigation, you cannot find out the exact cause of the infertility. This happens in many cases that we say unexplained infertility, where the cause cannot be known. So at that time you may think of these cause peritoneal factor. There may be peritubal adhesion or pelvic endometriosis. So these are responsible for infertility. So these we talked about the etiology of the infertility. We talked about male and female factors. We'll talk about something more in the infertility in the next session. Thank you.